Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. In this video, I'm going to talk about what to wear when you're kayaking or in your boat in the wintertime. If you haven't already, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of the stuff that I put out later on. I got some big stuff planned for the channel. We're going to get into some ice fishing here in Kingston in a few weeks, and I'm really happy to start that for the first time really in my life, doing ice fishing. And I'm looking forward to taking you with me. So, first of all, I want to talk about layering. The wintertime is actually really not that difficult to dress for. It's not very complicated. You don't need to have all this super fancy gear or whatever to stay, comfortable. Really the key is layering. You can layer up or down depending on the temperature, but what you want to avoid is over layering. It's going to restrict your movement, but more importantly, if you over layer, it's going to make you sweat. It's going to make you sweat more than you need to. And if you're over layered, you might risk not being able to move that sweat away from your body. And if that happens, it's going to stay on your skin, it's going to get cold, and you're just going to be wet and cold and miserable. So really the key is to layer appropriately. You don't want to just bundle up wearing a base layer, another layer, a sweater, and like a puffy and then a big jacket, because you're gonna be too hot. One of the best things you can buy to keep you safe on the water when you're out in this kind of weather in your kayak is something like an immersion suit with like the rubber cuffs that seal off. So if you happen to take a swim, that cold water is not going to flood your suit. Those are really expensive. And if you're anything like me, you can't afford like $1,000 to $1,500 to like upwards of $3,000 for like an immersion suit. So I pick my times. I go out when it's relatively safe, not too much wind, not too much chop, and make sure that I don't take a dive in the water in this weather. That's really the biggest key. So what I dress for is just to be comfortable. Next, I want to talk about types of materials. The first one I'm going to talk about is cotton, and you don't want to wear cotton. The problem with cotton is while it's nice and warm when it's dry, and it can be comfortable to wear as like normal winter clothes, and you're just going out, you go into tobogganing or out chopping or shoveling the driveway or whatever. Cotton loses almost all of its insulative properties when it gets wet. And it doesn't dry very well when it's wet. So it's going to get wet, it's going to stay wet, it's going to get cold, it's going to make you cold. Don't wear cotton. Don't even wear cotton underwear. Cotton nothing. So the next two types of materials I want to talk about are polyester and polypropylene. They're very similar types of materials. There's a couple main differences, but they both offer really good insulation and really good moisture wicking, which makes them really, really great for base layers. So you want to wear them as your next to skin item. The main difference between them is that polypropylene is basically made from plastic. Which is one of the reasons why it makes for such a good base layer, and also that makes it hydrophobic, which means it doesn't absorb water at all. So it's like kind of like on the higher end. Polyester, on the other hand, is a synthetic man-made fiber. It still does really great, but the biggest difference between them is the price. Polypropylene clothes is usually a little bit more expensive, so polyester is a really great, less expensive alternative to that. The next material I'm going to talk about is wool. Wool is thick, it's heavy, and that makes it pretty warm. The benefit of wool is that it gives you really, really good insulation. But the biggest reason you want to wear wool stuff is that if it gets wet, it keeps almost all of its insulative properties. Contrary to cotton, wool is the opposite. The last kind of material I want to talk about is fleece. Fleece is a great alternative to wool. It offers very similar insulation at a fraction of the weight. If it does get wet, it's still going to keep you warm like wool does. So fleece is like a really great option. However, I wouldn't wear it as a base layer for the fact that it doesn't wick moisture very well. You want to wear polyester, polypropylene, or something like that as your base layer if you're next to skin item. And then you want to wear fleece as an insulation layer. So I'm going to show you what I wear when I'm out in my kayak in the wintertime. I'll start with my head. Usually I'm wearing this hat or a hat like it, and I've got a wool cap here that I just wear over it, just like this. Covers your ears, keeps your ears nice and warm. The bill of your hat keeps rain and snow and stuff out of your face, so that keeps my head pretty toasty. I've been out in pretty cold weather so far, and I haven't had any problems with my head getting cold. The next items I want to talk about are the base layers. This is the base layer I wear for my top. It's just a Paradox polyester top and a Paradox polyester bottom. They're kind of like spandex a little bit, but they're made of polyester. And these two keep my body nice and warm when I'm out in my kayak. If it's really cold, instead of wearing the Paradox top, I'll wear this Under Armour Cold Gear top. So this is actually just a little bit warmer than the Paradox top. So depending on how cold it is, I'll wear one or the other. This is made mostly of polyester and nylon, and then it has a separate liner inside that's 100% polyester. So this is very, very warm. The Paradox tops and bottoms are made of like a 83% polyester and then some other percentages of nylon and spandex. So over top of that, on my chest, I like to wear just this fleece pullover. And this does a really good job of keeping me warm. It lets all the moisture from my base layer out. And that's pretty much it for that. Over my fleece, I have this North Face, just a North Face, regular North Face winter jacket. It comes with a shell that's made of nylon with a polyester liner, but I don't wear that. I actually have never worn that out of my kayak. The reason being is that it doesn't breathe at all. I found that if I'm active while I'm wearing the liner, I sweat a lot and then I get cold. So it's really good if you're not really moving a lot. So for example, if you're ice fishing and you're just standing in one spot, you've already drilled all your holes, you've dragged all your stuff out, and now you're just bundling up to stay warm for the long haul while you're jigging whatever you're jigging to catch whatever you're catching, then it's a great option. But for kayaking, I found that something like this is great. It's windproof, it's waterproof, and it keeps me protected from all that stuff. On my legs, I just wear these wind pants because I found that my legs don't get really cold ever. And my Paradox base layer keeps my legs pretty warm, and this keeps my legs dry. So these pants are windproof and water resistant. I'm not taking a swim, so it doesn't need to be waterproof. Just water resistant is fine. All I really need to worry about is splashes from fish or my paddle or whatever, or if it's raining or something like that. I've had these out in the rain, I haven't had any problems with water soaking through. So on my feet, depending on how cold it is, I'll either be wearing just a simple pair of wool socks. These do great. And if it's really cold, I'll wear a really, really thin layer, like a really, really thin sock underneath that. And over top of that, I wear these Ice Fields boots that I got from Walmart for $60. And a lot of people might think that stuff you get from Walmart isn't really, that kind of quality stuff. And I'll admit, they're not wrong most of the time. But so far, these boots have been really, really awesome. I've been out in minus 15 degree weather with a wind chill of like minus 20, minus 23 with my wool socks, and I have not had any problems with my feet being cold. These are waterproof up to the ankle, and then from there up, they're water resistant. So my feet stay dry and they stay warm. I can't complain. For $60, they're great quality boots. The tag says they're rated for minus 50 degrees, but I don't know if I'd wear these in minus 50 degrees. Maybe that's something I'm gonna have to check when I go out ice fishing. Hopefully I'm not ice fishing in minus 50 degree weather. That's just silly. The last thing I want to talk about is your gloves. Your hands are arguably the hardest thing to keep warm and dry when you're fishing of any kind in colder weather. You have to accept the reality that your hands will never be warm. There's always the search to keep your hands nice and toasty warm, and there are some ways you can do it, but you compromise in other ways. You can have nice big thick gloves, but then you lose all your dexterity. And if you're ice fishing or something like that, and you hook into a fish, you're gonna take your gloves off anyways. So like, what's the point? For me, I found these are HT ice fishing gloves. I think the tag said high-tech gear ice fishing gloves. They're 90% neoprene and 10% nylon. I've had them out in some pretty cold weather. They keep my hands comfortable. I won't say they're warm, but they keep my hands comfortable. So they're $15. They're really great. The dexterity is really awesome. I can use these with my bait casters and my spinning reels and paddling and no problem. So they're designed for ice fishing, and I really like them for kayaking. They've got this nice rubber palm, very grippy, and then of course they're made of neoprene, so they do a good job of keeping me comfortable in my kayak. One of the last things you need to consider when you're out on a kayak is you should be wearing your PFD. And what's in a PFD? Very, very thick, buoyant foam. A lot of people don't think about the fact that that foam is a big insulator. So you want to take that into consideration when you're dressing for your kayak fishing or kayaking in the wintertime. It's really thick foam. It's tight against you because you want to make sure your PFD is fitted properly, and those things offer a lot of warmth. Oftentimes I don't even take mine off until I'm ready to get in my truck and drive home because it's so warm. So don't forget about that part. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.